Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Ebel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and join me today for my top 5 tips for starting a Dr. McDougall program in 2022. My first tip might seem very obvious, but it's one that I find a lot of people skip, and that's actually reading one of Dr. McDougall's books. So the 3 books I have read are The Healthiest Diet on the Planet and The Starch Solution and the Dr. McDougall Program for Maximum Weight Loss. And if I had to recommend just one of those books, I might lean towards The Healthiest Diet on the Planet. The Healthiest Diet on the Planet is his most recent book. I believe it was published in 2016. And so it just tackles some of those issues of things that have really come about in the last, 10 years, like all the low carb and some of the books that have been written recently that attack carbohydrates and stuff like that. But all 3 of the books are amazing. All 3 of them will deliver Dr. McDougall's basic message, which is that we should be living on a starch-based diet. No matter where you are in the world, our ancestors lived on starches, whether that was rice or corn or potatoes, but we have eliminated these foods from our diet because they're bad and carbs are bad, and it's this brainwashing that's been going on for decades, and it's just wrong. So I really recommend reading one of Dr. McDougall's books to really get that understanding of why we should be eating a starch-based diet, because he can explain it in a much more doctorly way than I can. And you can also find so much information on Dr. McDougall's website and on his YouTube channel. I heard Dr. McDougall say at one point in a video that he's not trying to keep any of this information hidden. You can find all of the information that's in his books on his website and on different lectures in his YouTube channel. So he's not just trying to make money selling books. At one point he said he wasn't going to write another book, but I think that was before he wrote Healthiest Diet on the Planet. Anyway, there's just so much information, especially so many good videos on his YouTube channel. I'm on his YouTube channel watching videos basically every week, and I still haven't watched them all. I still find myself learning and just absorbing more of this information from him. So I'm obviously not a doctor, and that's why I really recommend you look into some of Dr. McDougall's resources and listen to his scientific, research-backed, reasons that we should be on a starch-based diet. He has literally been promoting this diet for decades, and he knows what he's talking about. So my second tip is to commit 100% to a whole food, plant-based, no oil diet while you're at home. And that's not to give you permission to go out and eat whatever you want every time you leave your house, but I really believe that healthy habits start at home. And I believe that it's easier to make healthy choices when you're in the habit of doing that all the time at home. It makes it easier when you do go out into the world. I will be the first to admit that I can get sucked into the vegan junk food when I am traveling out of town. I have siblings that live in Chicago and Las Vegas, which in my opinion are 2 of the best places to go out to vegan restaurants in the United States. But I also know how I feel when I eat that vegan junk food. And I think having that awareness helps make it easier to make healthy choices. The last time I ate French fries, greasy, oily French fries, I had a stomach ache for hours. And I am just so turned off from French fries at the moment. I'm I can't even imagine wanting to eat them again, because that memory of that stomach ache is still so fresh in my mind. I think the more aware you can become of how the foods you eat make you feel afterward, the easier it is to make those healthy choices, because you know how good and energized you feel after a whole food plant-based meal, and you can see how adding things like oil back into your diet can make you feel slow and sluggish and potentially ill. That's not to say that I'm never going to be tempted out at a restaurant by French fries again. I mean, I am human, but being aware of how that food makes me feel really helps me make better decisions. So my third tip is going to be to find the foods you love and eat them all the time. There is this big misconception about going plant-based that you need to have this whole variety of foods to be able to get all the vitamins and nutrients you need, and it's so hard. You have to do this food combining thing, and it's a complete myth. Potatoes can literally provide all of the nutrients we need. Just simple potatoes. I will find Dr. McDougall's video on that and make sure to link to that in this video. Our diet can be that simple, but obviously eating only potatoes would get really boring. My point is simply that we don't need to have a dozen different fresh fruits and vegetables in our diet every day to make it healthy and to make sure that we're getting those vitamins and nutrients that we need. Obviously, that's great to include a variety of different produce if that's what you want to do. Like, I think of those picture perfect Pinterest fridges that look so pretty, and every time I see one, my first thought is that's pretty, and my second thought is how much of that is going to go to waste. So my advice is to figure out what you love and eat as much of that as you want. Eat it until you get sick of it. I know I personally go through phases of food where I will become obsessed with the food. I think it's the best thing ever. I want to eat it every day, and I will. I'll eat it every day for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'll get sick of it and won't want it for a month or two. But I also have those things that I absolutely just love and never get sick of, like potatoes and broccoli. Have not gotten sick of them yet and have eaten a lot of them in the last year and a half. So what starches do you love? Potatoes, rice, pasta. What fruits do you love? What vegetables do you love? Start with eating what you love and then start to expand out from there. I think that's the other thing people do that steers them away from a plant-based diet, is that they try to do too many complicated things too soon. Like when I started following Dr. McDougall, which would have been like September 2021, potatoes and broccoli. I mean, it's what I loved. It was easy for me to stick to. And then I started thinking about other recipes I can incorporate. So figure out what you love right now and just eat that every day. Just start there. I can almost guarantee that if you are eating a whole food, plant-based, no oil, starch-based diet with extra fruits and veggies to fill in, supplement the starch, like, it's basically impossible to not get all the nutrients you need. Like I said, there have been multiple studies done on people eating only potatoes, and they got everything you need. Because nature packaged food in starches and fruits and vegetables in these perfect quantities for us humans. We're the ones who make everything complicated by adding things that are not our food, that make us sick, and then we think we need more vitamins and minerals to make us well, and it's this horrible, messed up food cycle that we're in as human beings. And I can definitely recommend some more Dr. McDougall videos where he goes deeper into that. Which brings me to my fourth point, which is you probably need to take a B12 supplement or be eating food that has B12 in it. This potentially might be something you want to talk to your doctor about. I personally have never taken a B12 supplement. I eat lots of nutritional yeast. I would say at least one recipe a week that I make will have nutritional yeast in it. And I get my blood work done every year. For the last 5 years that I've been vegan, I have had no problems with my B12 or iron or any of those other things that people tell you need to worry about when you're vegan. So obviously get your blood work done and have those things checked. But for me personally, it's just not something I worry about. Nutritional yeast is a vegan's best friend. It gives so much good cheesy flavor to so many different recipes. I love to eat nutritional yeast every week, so I don't even worry about my B12. Again, not a doctor, get your blood work done. But on that note, all of the other vitamins and supplements that are marketed to you by the vitamin industry are probably unnecessary. This is an industry that makes us think that we're unwell and that we can pick and choose, more vitamin C for this, more vitamin E for this. And it's like I said earlier, nature takes all these vitamins and minerals and packages them in these delicious plant foods for us to consume and get those vitamins and nutrients in the right amounts. When you're taking 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C, like, how much do you think your body can absorb and how much do you think you just pee out? If you've ever taken too many supplements and had really funky colored pee, you might know what I'm talking about. Again, not a doctor, so I will post a link to a few of Dr. McDougall's videos where he talks about supplements, and I just completely agree with everything he says. And especially when you think about it from a marketing standpoint. When you think about the vitamin industry as an industry, trying to make money, trying to sell you something. And overdosing on vitamins is still like overdosing, and it can cause your body harm. And finally, my fifth tip, I think is probably the most important, but it might be the hardest to implement. I know it's something that I still struggle with, and that's to just let it be easy. Eating should be easy. Like, fueling our human bodies should be easy. We have made it complicated with all of these foods that aren't foods, you know what I mean? Meat and dairy and all the processed things. When you read the label on something and nothing in the ingredient list sounds edible, yet we're putting it in our mouths. When you're eating a whole food, plant-based, starch-based, no oil diet, it should be easy. It should be easy to just eat the food that comes out of the ground that nature made for us. Like, we don't need to be eating all these man-made, chemically based foods. We have to get that idea out of our head that these things are foods. Like I've mentioned in other videos, like, I just don't view meat and dairy as food anymore. It's like Dr. McDougall says, that's not your food. I don't view that as food anymore. But I can still get tempted by vegan junk food that I know is processed. And if you watched my December weight loss update, you know I got sucked into some Oreos at some Christmas parties. And it's like, I know that Oreos aren't food. Like, that cream filling, what is that? I spent over 30 years of my life dieting and making eating so complicated for myself. I stressed and obsessed. I got depressed. It really messed with my mental health. 3 decades of dieting. And so it's still hard for me too sometimes to just let it be easy, to just let myself eat when I'm hungry, to just let myself eat carbs and fruit. And at least once a week I have to remind myself that it's okay to not count calories, to not have a fasting window and an eating window, and to not restrict. I mean, I know how hard it is to break these habits. Like, I know it's supposed to be easy, and sometimes it's hard to believe it. It's hard to believe that it's this easy. You want to make things complicated. You want structure and restriction. Like, I know how hard it is to let go of those rules. So do yourself a favor and just let it be easy. Just look at this plant-based plan and go, wow, it's this easy? I've been dieting and struggling all these years and it could be this easy? I mean, I know that's how I felt. But living my entire life on a diet, it's still hard sometimes to accept that, like, that it is this easy, that I can just eat when I'm hungry. I'll give you an example that I had this like mental battle probably 2 days ago where I wanted rice. And I was like, can I really just eat a bowl of rice? Like, I thought about it for probably an hour or two before I finally just made the damn rice and had the rice and was like, oh, this tastes so good. Like, why am I even just questioning this? But I know, and I have to remind myself, and here's a reminder for you, that if you're eating a whole food, plant-based diet with no oil, it's like you can eat whatever you want, whenever you want. Like, how freeing is that? Like, it's hard to feel that free about food when you've been restricted for so long. And so that is my best tip. Let it be easy. Just let it be easy. Let go of obsessing about food and let yourself live. So those are my 5 best tips for getting started with a Dr. McDougall plan for 2022. And I really hope that you will try living a starch-based lifestyle. Finding Dr. McDougall and learning about starch-based living, it's just completely changed my life. Like I said, I have 3 decades of diet culture drilled into my brain, and I'm trying to unlearn all of those unhealthy thoughts and behaviors and habits and restrictions that I've had on myself for 3 decades. You know, it never even occurred to me until I was in my 30s at a yoga teacher training that some people had never dieted their whole life. I remember having that realization and being like jealous, like, wow, to just eat food when you're hungry and stop when you're full, and just to look at food as food and not this like obsession. I think that was when I really realized how unhealthy my relationship with food was. And it's also when I kind of made it my goal to figure out how to live like that. That was back in 2019 when I started filming my I'm Done Dieting series, because I had just gotten to such a place of frustration of always feeling like I'm fighting in my mind about food, and I remember even when I started filming that I'm Done Dieting series, I was still dieting. I went and found like the Raw Till 4 diet and was still trying to control and manipulate like my food intake in that way. It wasn't until I found Dr. McDougall and the starch-based diet, and I'm like, OMG, starches, carbs, that's what we need to run on. That's what we need to fuel ourselves with. Like, I swear it has just been light bulb after light bulb in the last year plus that I've been following Dr. McDougall and learning from him. And so that's why I'm sharing my story here on my YouTube channel, so that I can hopefully help somebody else. Because like I said, 30 years of this diet, this magazine article, eat this, not that, follow this exact meal plan. It's like nothing ever worked for me, and nothing ever made me feel healthy mentally about my relationship with food until I found Dr. McDougall and until I started living a starch-based lifestyle. So thank you for joining me today and watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe and be well.